Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 29 of season 2 of Gunners and Blues. My name is Sean Morgan. I am joined by Andrew Gump. It is Wednesday, and it is time for some Midweek Madness.
Woo!
Yeah, I know. Woo!
There
Uh,
you go.
here we
I
go.
like that. You basically just waved, but that's fine.
Well, I mean, my other hand was scratching my knee at the time, so it's like I could wave, and then you hear like a smack on the
See,
desk.
you should have done it. That would have been mad. You're proper mad lad.
Proper
No.
proper madness, proper madness. So, it is the middle of the week, and it is time for some non-footy discussion. Today, we are talking about childhood movies, and now, rather than going through and talking about a bunch of different childhood movies, because I think a lot of times for Midweek Madness, it's really kind of a nostalgia circle jerk. Like you got to admit that a lot of our stuff is it's very much a nostalgia circle jerk, but I think that specifically what we're wanting to do here is really talk through less, just waxing nostalgia, and more movies that we think kids these days, right, and then
Hmm.
in future generations should really look at um, as a good film, like a good film
Yeah.
to help establish and build values, to help, really, I think, drown out some of the dire and just like terrible like films and cartoons and TV shows that are out now that don't really have a whole hell of a lot of substance.
Yeah, it's just cut and paste shit nowadays
Yeah,
for the most part.
it really is.
Yeah.
And, we have two very different films that we want to talk about. And, no time like the present. So, Andrew,
Yeah,
go
man.
ahead and kick us off.
Yeah, so mine, and I was kind of torn on this between two Ghibli films, but mine is Nausicaa. I was torn between that and Laputa. But for me, Nausicaa was released in 1984, so before either of us are born. Even if we are old, we were not born at that point in time. But for me, as a kid, when I first saw it, it was the first time that I admired the whole way through a strong female character, right? A lot of the times, especially like the Disney princess motif, there's always some little like Deus ex machina guy to come and save her from, some bad guy doing, a lad and things like that. I didn't You see that all the time. But with Nausicaa, she was the hero from the beginning to the end. And she wasn't your average hero, right? She wasn't amazing, like amazingly cute or sweet or anything like that. She had all the proper qualities of a hero. She was brave, she was kind. She showed a different way of being a hero, a way that transcends, the sexes, the whatever you want to call yourself. It's it was kind of eye opening to me. Like I said, I had always been like, "Oh, I love these masculine characters. I just want to be like this guy." And it wasn't. And she was awesome. She was absolutely incredible. And then when you look at the story that was trying to be told, first of all, for 1984, the animation was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I'm a big believer that you listen to the director, and even Hayao Miyazaki himself says you watch it in dubbed because he wants you to appreciate the animation. So I know everyone wants to have their big, stroke up. You don't watch it in subtitles. I listen. I can speak Japanese. I can read Japanese. If I wanted to, I would do it that way. I like listening to it in English. I like English voices. It looks good, and they did a good job in that way. I mean, it has Sir Patrick Stewart. Come on, Sir
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart.
Nausicaa's voice is actually the actress from one of my favorite movies, Matchstick Men. Remember with Nick Cage
Oh
from
yeah.
like the
Oh,
early
I love that.
2000s? Yeah.
Love that film. Love that film. But yeah. So anyway, and it's one of those shows that, without being excessively preachy, it talks about what we're doing to the environment and how that we refuse to live with the earth. So the earth will destroy us eventually. Not by its own hand, but by what we do to the earth. The earth, I mean, global warming. This is
Mhm.
1984. There's very few people who are talking about global warming in 1984. But there was this sort of foresight, in that, I think every child to see something put in a way that's not preachy, that's entertaining the whole way, that has little elements of fright, because I do think frightening a child very lightly, right? Not one of those ways like that's going to scar you, like the Hamburglar from the McDonald's family, because that shit was absolutely that scarred the ever living shit out of me. But something that gives you that little bit of jump fright, just to see the giant insects and so on and so forth. It really sticks with the kid. Just to, let's live, let's be kind to the earth, because the earth will be kind back to us. The earth will be kind back to us. And then there's even another level on top of that, in which it shows a lot of these people involved were good people at their core. But because they followed their country so fervently, they became such zealots, they were able to do terrible things to other countries, to the people of the forest, to the earth around them. And it's so many crucial, important lessons that I think every child should kind of learn. Not you're not going to just watch this movie and then you'll know all these things, but it does occur to you, like, maybe I should, be respectful to this tree. Maybe I should be respectful to the people that don't think the same way as me. I really appreciated from that aspect the way they did it without ever being preachy. And it's a Miyazaki film, so like I said, it's beautifully animated. He crafted it. It sticks in your head. And the other film I was thinking about talking about was Laputa, Castle in the Sky. They're both incredible films. If anyone has HBO Max, by the way, they're both on there. Definitely recommend having your kids watch them. Or watching them yourself, because they still hit. Like, I've been watching them a lot this week. I'm rewatching them with my younger brother and my mother. It feels great to watch them. And I think you have a slightly different approach to it. Not any less valid, but I do actually very interested to hear what your film is, Sean.
I do want to say that out of the Studio Ghibli films, there is one that I am a little hesitant to have my daughter watch, maybe until she's a teenager, at least. You know which one I'm talking about?
Spirited Away?
Nah, she actually watched Spirited Away with us.
Wow. Think about this.
Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh, well. No, that's great. I meant primarily the Hayao Miyazaki overtures. Like I said, I love Grave of the Fireflies, but you don't need that pain in your heart until well down the road. A great film. Absolutely incredible film, but no one needs that sort of pain in their heart at a young age.
I think a lot of people look at all of like the Studio Ghibli films and feel like, I could just go through, just pick one, just watch all of them. A lot of times tonally they're very similar. That one is definitely different, and
yes,
if you're not prepared for it, it is a gut punch. And even if you are prepared for it, it's still a gut punch. I've only ever watched it once. I don't think I could actually realistically bring myself to watch it again, especially being a parent. I think it definitely fucks with you and just is gut wrenching. Anyway, speaking of movies that aren't gut wrenching, I want to talk about a movie that, interestingly enough, actually did not come out when I was technically a kid. So. And this movie came out in 2001. So I guess you could say, I was still, under the age of 18. I think I would have been 13, 12 or 13 at the time. And I'm talking about Shrek. I think at this point in 2021, Shrek is more about the memes than I think it is the actual film. At this point, it's so well integrated within I think internet culture that it's hard to sometimes separate the two. Everybody knows the Shrek green text from 4chan, I'm not going to repeat any of it. But if you don't know what it is, just look up Shrek green text. I'm sorry. If that's not really that's not your culture. But Shrek was probably one of the first, I think, computer animated films to really enter internet culture in a meaningful way. And that's kind of really what I want to get at, is I think that it was successful in two very distinct manners at intertwining itself within our modern culture. And the first is its focus on irreverence. I mean, early 2000s, you had from, the late 80s all the way through the 90s, animated films were very serious, even if they were lighthearted at times. There was this overarching seriousness that permeated just about every aspect of it in either its style or in the animation or in the message that it told and the characters and mannerisms. And even some of the some of the other movies that were trying to, like Don Bluth's films, they all still had this very heavy message to them. Shrek came out and didn't give a single shit about about a meaningful message. There were still, like, I would say not necessarily heavy messages, but there were still examples and like good things to take away from it if that's what you were looking for. You had an unlikely hero. You had somebody that was generally cast down and looked at, negatively. You had somebody who showed, tremendous character growth over the course of the film. You could apply these types of things to a lot of other movies, and it's still, you're like, wow, there's still messages there. But there were so many things where it did not take itself seriously and, like lampooned other similar movies. It really did a number on the whole fairy tale thing. That the fairy tale genre has never recovered from that. It's like one of those burns that was so bad that, you can't really tell those stories again. That type of story no longer works in modern animated media. That is because of Shrek. It basically destroyed that type of film because at this point there's no real fresh way to tell that story without adding or paying some homage to Shrek in how it, like I said, made irreverence meaningful. And the other thing I want to talk about is its way of impacting meme culture. So especially amongst, what they there's a term for digital native. Digital nativism is this idea that the younger group of millennials, which both myself and Andrew belong to, as well as Gen Z and now Gen Alpha, but specifically. Yeah, that's what they call them now. The 2010s and up, they're considered Gen Alpha.
Okay.
You're learning, teaching. Anyway, but specifically, our group of millennials are considered digital natives, meaning that we grew up when the internet was in its infancy and are very well versed and integrated and familiar with the digital world. And I'm not talking about Digimon. I'm talking about
Digimon are the champions.
I'm going to have that stuck in my head. But meme culture was in its infancy during like our heyday. The mid-late 2000s, was really where meme culture started to emerge as something more than just us sharing funny pictures. It became a method and means of communication, showing broader concepts within the confines of simpler messages and implied and underlying tones to basically images and to short phrases or, just this way of breaking down something much bigger in a way that not only was it digestible by us, but actually had meaning to us. And it sounds weird to talk about. We're basically doing some meme analysis here. But Shrek, I think, and that entire series actually did a lot toward impacting that type of culture. Because memes are ultimately a form of irreverence, right? It's a form of, saying funny things or implying funny things or implying, more substantial things in a much simpler package or any package that lampoons or makes fun of other things. And sounds funny. I think meme culture owes a lot to Shrek and owes a lot to that style of animation because it influenced, like I said, I was, for us, younger millennials, we were in our teens, But for a lot of Gen Z, which is really where meme culture kind of took off, those elder Gen Zers were, between ages 4 and 10, 4 and 12, during the heyday of Shrek with the first movie and then with subsequent movies. So I feel like to really, if for these new Gen Alphas, for these newer younger kids, for them to really appreciate, even though the animation has aged okay, right? It wasn't the peak of animation to begin with, and so it's aged okay. That really, you have to go back and if you want to be a proper meme historian, okay, if you want to be a meme archivist, you got to go and you've got to watch Shrek and the second Shrek, not the third one. Watch the fourth one, but specifically you got to watch the first because that's really where it happens. It's where all the magic went down. So two very different films that I think influenced, people in very different ways, but equally important-ish. I guess my alternative
exactly.
Yeah, my alternative was Balto, and even though it was critically maligned and was very sappy, it was my favorite movie as a kid, and I watched the crap out of it. And my mom will, always attest to the fact that Balto was my favorite, and it really, I think, is actually what kickstarted my interest in, like the. I would say Alaska, and I was very obsessed with Alaska as a kid, and obsessed with.
I was in Iron Will. I was like, very similar.
I loved wolves. I loved, the
too,
idea
bro.
of like a tundra environment. I loved the idea of, just like blizzards, and so I wanted to move to Alaska, and I wanted to, freeze my ass off. And Balto.
Exactly. When I was younger, like when I was in I would run longer, sleep less, which was what they told Iron Will to do the entire time during this. Just when I would work out, like when I was training for sports, I would still say that shit to myself. So Iron Will was my Balto in many ways.
Yeah, and I mean, one of my favorite books that I read in, I believe it was I think it was second grade, Call of the Wild, and it, like I said, that was like right around that time. Where I'm like, I just wanted to watch Balto. I just wanted to reread Call of the Wild. I wanted to watch White Fang. I wanted to, like whatever it was, if it was related to wolves or sled dogs or, and there was, what was the, there was another book. Oh God, I can't remember it was about the Iditarod, but it was just that kid who had like the one dog, and, I can't remember, the dog had a heart attack right at the end and like died. And the kid was like very sad and crying, and like the mean like native guy who was the one who always won these these races, like stopped and picked up the dog and like walked with the dog across the finish line. Do you not remember reading that?
I remember. I'm glad I didn't read. That's fucking awful, bro. I can't.
It was awful. Hang on. Iditarod dog book dies. Hey, Google's helping me. Stone Fox came out in 1980.
I think my mom said you shouldn't read that book. So, thank you, Mom, because that would have made me sad. Yeah, I don't want to read that.
Oh man, Stone Fox. That was the book. They apparently made a television film after it, and yeah. So I don't think I ever watched it. But
that Cuba Gooding Jr. movie, did that make you want to?
No, that didn't quite do that. Not quite. Well, any final thoughts before we call it call the madness over?
Oh man, just let your kids see some older animated films. Some of them are pretty damn good.
It's true.
Don't give them the roly poly oly or whatever the hell's popular now.
It's so fucking old.
Why did you say this? Well, first of all, because I didn't procreate, I don't know the young little children. Don't give me that.
I mean, to be fair,
I'm being responsible.
I mean, to be fair, my kid's in double digits now. So, I mean, the one that makes me feel old. And then,
yeah, there you go.
Two, I don't know what young kids are watching anymore because I don't have to subject myself to it. Thankfully.
So maybe there's a renaissance of roly poly oly, and you're wrong.
Maybe I am. Well, that's it for us. As always, thank you, Particle Dogs. Great intro and outro tunes. And if you guys like Midweek Madness, it's been reasonably popular. I think our certain episodes have definitely trended a little bit better than others. So if you like this type of content, please let us know. Whether the feedback be in the means of a review or a comment on YouTube, or just simply shooting us an email, commenting on our Twitter, on our Facebook account, whatever the case is. Everything is found on our link tree, by the way, linktr.ee/gunnersblues. If you are following us on Twitter, then it's always on our Twitter. I posted a whole bunch. So definitely, I would say it's probably where we're the most active. But we do appreciate, like I said, any and all feedback. Well, on behalf of Andrew, my name is Sean. We are Gunners and Blues. We are signing out. We will be back. We promise we will be back on Thursday for some later episodes. Unfortunately, I had some personal issues come up this past week, which did prevent us from recording our Thursday and Friday episodes. So knock on wood, everything should be good to go for this week. And we will talk to you then. Have a good one, everybody.
See you guys.